Today's forum, the third grade reading guarantee, a test for all of us. Wow, and I don't know if you completed your test, but I did. Who completed their tests? We'll wait until you all finish. I can tell you that I don't know how well I did on that test. And I think we're going to find out later, if I'm not mistaken. So let's thank the Columbus Foundation for their support of today's forum and kidsohio.org, who partnered with us for today's forum. Yeah, here we go. Now, you all have had a chance to take your sample tests, so if you haven't, do it now. And to start us off, we will welcome Bonnie James, the founder of Advanced Reading Concepts, who will help us grade our tests. Then Mark Real will lead us through a discussion on efforts to help our third graders pass this test, as well as some of the implications and ramifications of the state law. Please welcome Mark Real, President and CEO of kidsohio.org, Sandy Donald, Director of Reading, Language Arts, and Social Studies for Columbus City Schools, Allison Circle, Chief Customer Executive Officer at Columbus Metropolitan Library, and Bonnie James. Thank you.
So, did anybody feel any stress at all about having to complete this test in just a small amount of time? Everybody, pass your test to the right. Oh, we can do this without talking, children. All right, have we accomplished this small? If you don't know you're right, just follow what other people are doing. Okay. Now, you are going to be checking the other person's answers, and I will give you guidelines as to do that. And if you think it's rough having to take the third grade reading test, I took the test last night, but Andy didn't send me the answers, so I found the answers. There's 28 pages of guidelines for this test you just took, for the teachers to look at, about how to check how many points to give for each answer. So, let's see if you knew the beginning part. Mark, but first of all, I was told to do this. Look at the test that you received from the person sitting next to you. Is their name on the front of the test? If you did not follow those directions and put your name on it, you have failed before they do anymore. All right. Oh, you didn't finish it? Oh, well, did you have it? All right. If you did the pre-test, the antonym for cool requires you to know the word antonym, and I was assured that they do. I didn't when I was a third grader, is warm, A. 2, if you know your prefixes, the student misbehaved in class. What does that mean? It's C, behave badly. And we all know contractions, so that's C, about who is going home on the bus, who is. 4, A, he was not able to help. Now we're getting to the story about John Glenn. Oh, that was an answer. Okay. All right. Number 5 is, and I wonder if you read, a little hint on reading better, you should have read the box about the word bank before you started the selection. You would have been taught that in school. Okay, number 5 is B. Mark it right or wrong. Now 6 is, put these in the right order. Number 3, the number 1, the number 2. If they had 2 of them in the right order, they get 1.2. They get them all right. I don't know why. Okay. Now, number 7 is B. He was the oldest person to travel in space. All right. Number 8. There are kinds of different answers. Obviously, it's about John Glenn's life, okay? If the person put, this is really crazy when I read these 28 pages quickly. If somebody put down the astronaut John Glenn, it would be an incorrect answer because it's supposed to be the whole life of him, even though the first sentence says astronaut and U.S. Senator John Glenn, and astronaut is in bold-faced print. If somebody put down that he was an astronaut, it's wrong because it's about his life. Okay. I think if you just write John Glenn, that should be okay. Number A, that he won, any of these, he won medals for bravery in the Navy. You have to have that he did win things there. That he set a record for a transcontinental flight, that he was the first American to orbit the Earth, and he was the oldest to travel in space, and that he was a senator for the United States. You can have just, you only have to have 3 of those. And if they added more details, that's even better. Now, 9 is tricky. It says, why did John Glenn join the Navy after college? The passage says he was a fighter pilot in the Navy, but it never actually says that why he joined the Navy. So the answer is A, even though it really didn't say that. And we got, no, so that's another little gotcha game. All right. 10. He had different jobs, explain what he did in each job listed below. This was like 3 pages of those things I showed you. You have to be specific. Okay, so as astronauts, something like he was first to orbit the Earth, he was the oldest to travel in space, and as senator, you have to say he actually passed important laws. You have to say what he did as senator, or you do not get points. I sped read the 28 pages. Okay, 11 is A. Or do you need more time to grade the other one? Read their writing. All right. Now we enter a lot of redundancy. How many of you noticed that the test kept asking the same thing over and over and over and over again? Did anybody get annoyed by that? Okay. All right. 12. Using the information from the reading select to list 4 things that John, important things. You have to have that they were important, not just things he did, or you're not going to get all your points. Now, he fought in 2 wars and he received medals. If you just said he was in the Navy, that doesn't count as points. All right? He set a transcontinental record. If you just said he flew across the continent, that wouldn't be good enough either. Okay? You have to say what he did that was important. So I put down in my answers, he did it in 3 hours and 23 minutes, the speed of sound. So I was real specific. So if you were grading mine, you'd give me all kinds of points. Okay? And he was the first American to orbit the Earth. You could say that he passed bills as a senator. You could say he was the oldest American to study weightlessness or oldest American to be in space. One of those things, but he has to be an important fact as opposed to just a fact, or you aren't going to get the points. All right, and then we have the mind-mappy, bubbly thing. That sort of is the same thing they asked in the other ones. And you need specific information about how he made history. In this, they had like examples of kids taking the test, and if they said he was in the Navy, that would not be correct because it wasn't specific enough about how he made history. So, I said he first to orbit, the oldest to orbit, and you could have other things about his work in the Senate as long as it was specific that he passed important things. All right. Number 14. You have to infer here, and when I took it, I missed it, and then I had my assistant in the office take it, and she got it right and I didn't, but I got one right that she didn't. It is She teaches writing, I teach reading. All right. It's number C. Why did he travel into space? So you could just put down a number on the front of how many out of how many, and unless they did not put their name on it, you know, if they got some right. I don't know what the pass-fail rate is, but you can see how you did.
You have a hand for Bonnie for helping us with that, and we'll throw it to Mark.
Sorry, with some overview, but then I'll ask him. Well, good afternoon. We're here, as you know, to learn about the third grade reading guarantee law in Ohio, and you have in your place, you have two reports that go into this in greater detail for you to take home. But let me briefly summarize the law for you, and then we have two excellent panelists who are going to give their perspectives in terms of what the school district and the public library system are doing. But just let's take a step back. What does the third grade reading law require? One of the least known provisions is that the law requires school districts to assess kindergartners, first graders, and second graders with the intention of helping them, providing an individual reading plan so they improve their reading skills before they get to third grade. That is not a widely known provision. The test this year was given in October to third graders in both district schools and in public charter schools. Students in private schools are not required to take the test. Students in Columbus City schools, about 42% of third graders scored a score that was high enough that would make them eligible to be promoted to fourth grade. That was on the October test. But the principal value of the October test for educators is that it gives them a point in time, a diagnostic point in time, and a way to work with children one-on-one between October and May. And they will take the test again in May. And they also have a third opportunity to take the test in July, something, again, that in my experience is not widely known. So the 42% of Columbus children scored high enough in the third grade to pass the test to be promoted in October. The numbers were roughly comparable for the 1,400 children who are in third grade in public charter schools. But 58% of children still need to get a score that's high enough. And the most challenging part for both the district and the charter schools are children who score, and this is on page 3 of the handout that you have. These are children who score at the limited level, and what the state defines as limited are children who know just a few words but have difficulty putting together whole sentences. So these are children who require a lot of help from skilled teachers. And the test is, the children have 2.5 hours in which to take the test. The reality is that teachers tell us, I think, that most children are done within an hour. They have ample time to take the test. That's not been one of the complaints. But the test that you took in a very abbreviated time, children have actually more time to take that than we did over lunch, and they're solely devoted to taking the test, not to eating lunch and visiting with their neighbors. So we want to start today. What is also not known is the fact that the Columbus schools have put a full court press on this issue. At every single level, the Columbus schools have said reading is our core strategy. And I want to acknowledge, if I could, Superintendent Dan Good, and also school board members Mary Jo Hudson and Dominic Peretti, and the management team for Columbus City Schools. If you stand up just a minute so people know who you are, okay? Also, Phil Hayes, who's the Vice President of the Columbus Education Association, the Teachers Union. They've been a partner in this and deserve to be acknowledged. Greg Brown from the Grand family of 4 charter schools, independently operated charter schools, and Andy Boy from the United Network of Charter Schools. Go ahead and stand so people can see. If you want to know what a charter school is, you want to visit it, these are the people to talk to. So, Sandy, this is, you've assembled a team of more than 70, Columbus has 74 elementary schools. You've assembled a team of over 70 reading coaches, 20 master teachers to help frontline principals and teachers. What's that involve?
Good afternoon, everyone. So we have what we call our college and career ready instructional TOSAs. For the purpose of this meeting, I'll refer to them as literacy coaches. And each elementary building has a literacy coach that supports the implementation of our literacy program. Those literacy coaches are being trained in reading recovery and literacy collaborative through The Ohio State University. But more importantly, they're there to support our teachers with the day-to-day literacy concerns that happen in the building, to provide support with interventions, to provide support with best strategies, to provide intervention actually to students. So that's the work of the literacy coaches, as well as supporting district-level initiatives.
Allison, the Columbus Library has been a real partner with the school district and with community groups. Tell us more about what you're doing.
Well, thanks, Mark, and so great to be here. And I don't want it to be lost on anyone that the library is sitting up here at the table with the school district. It's a new day, and to quote Dan Good, it's all hands on deck, and the library is here and putting all of our very capable hands on deck. The library's had a really long history of supporting children. In fact, our summer reading club is entering its 76th year. I bet if I were to poll most of you, you got a library card when you were in elementary school, is that right? Yeah? So we have a long history of that, and one of our key strategies is focusing on young minds. We really have delved into the work around kindergarten readiness and changing our way of meeting the need of families at an early age. But this whole third grade reading thing has ignited our efforts in a way, and in collaboration with the school, with Andy Boy, with other schools, we have been doing all kinds of things on a pace we've never done before. A simple example is, like the schools, we too have a Reading Buddies program after school. Cassie Berrick, sitting right here, she led the effort for our library, where we have volunteers reading with kids after school, answering simple questions, which to us seems simple, but you saw from this test, it isn't as easy, and the inference and the thinking that you have to do behind reading is a skill that really needs all capable hands in order to address, and that's what we're here doing.
So Sandy, we all looked at the test. Tell us, what are the skills that third graders, and keep in mind these are 8, 9, and 10-year-olds. What are the skills that a lot of our students struggle with?
So the third grade reading guarantee focuses on 4 main areas. There's an area for informational text, which largely focuses on nonfiction text, literary text, which is more of our poetry, fiction, or drama, acquisition of vocabulary, and you had some vocabulary questions within the context of the test you just took, and then the whole process of reading. So kids are making decisions constantly, and so for a struggling reader, that can be quite challenging. And so one of the things that we definitely want to do is make sure that kids have those strategies to decode unknown words, that they're able to pick words apart. They understand, as our hostess said, the difference between the prefixes and suffixes, and understanding that prefixes and suffixes can help you to identify the meaning of words. So a lot of it is just them understanding what skill they would need to use to garner meaning from the text.
Allison, you obviously have a love of reading. I suspect most people in this room have a love of reading. What does the library do to help young people embrace love of reading?
Well, I'm going to answer that question this way. We all love books at the library. I've been a big reader forever. I can't even remember learning to read. And so we get all excited about how reading is fun and there's a love of reading. I have to remember, reading isn't fun, isn't easy, isn't a love for a lot of people, and there's a lot of reasons why. And I think the way we need to approach it is a skill development. It's a skill developed for life, and we love it, and it's easy to us, and it's fun for us, but that isn't the same for everybody. So we have to make sure we come from a place that understands where people are, instead of gosh, Sandy, read this great book. Isn't it fun? So we have to make sure we don't do that. But one of the things that we're doing that I'm really excited about, we've always talked about how the library is transforming the lives of our customers, but guess what? Our customers are transforming the lives of us. We are doing work differently than any public library anywhere. We are changing how we behave and approach customers. Historically, we have been more transactional, and you want a book, and here's a book, and it's a good book, you'll like it. And we've done a more passive approach. We are on fire, man. We are out there, we are approaching families, and we're saying, you know, here's what you need to do. And for us to tell people what they need to do is a little out of our comfort zone, but the urgency and the magnitude of this issue has our staff just really passionate and just dedicated and on about it. Not everyone, but most. And we are intervening with parents. We are not just saying, here's a book, but we have training that we're leading that says, parents, when you have a book, put your finger underneath the word and sound it out. Sound out the first letter. We know to do that, but boy, it isn't an intuitive skill that parents who don't love reading bring to their children. So we are really focused on helping parents. Last night, we were there at our Hilltop branch because the school had a family literacy academy, and it's so heart-rending to see these parents who are hungry for somebody to help them figure it out. The parents in this room had kids who had failed the test, and they're slightly panicked, and they're at sea, and they're looking for help. And your team, Sandy, did a great job. Our team did a great job, but how do we break it down for people? And that's what we're trying to do.
Speaking of parents, several weeks ago at 8:30 in the morning, I was at East High School, and Sandy and about 100 of her colleagues were welcoming several hundred parents. What do you do in that? Tell us about what you did for the next 3 hours with those parents.
So much earlier in the year, Dr. Good pulled together a reading intervention team. Our charge was clear. We needed to look at every available venue, every available resource, every available staff member, all hands on deck, with assisting in improving the literacy world of our students. As a result of that meeting, one of the things that was birthed was our Family Literacy Academy. And boy, did our Family Literacy Academy come to life. I saw as we began to work to structure the Literacy Academy, it united our district in a way that I had actually never seen before. It was quite exciting to sit at the table, not only with our chief of staff and our chief of academic services, our CEA partners, that's the Columbus Education Association, our teacher partners, our classified staff, the Columbus Metropolitan Library, parents. Each and every area of our district was represented, and each and every area of our district played a significant role in our Family Literacy Academy. So as Mark said, we hosted a Family Literacy Academy at East High School, which was by far one of the most exciting events that I have seen in Columbus City Schools. We had over 513 families, and I say families because there were multiple people where only one person may have signed in that attended the academy. We had literacy coaches that set up sessions or instructed sessions that revolved around those 4 areas of the OAA that I just spoke to you about. Columbus Metropolitan Library was present. Parents were able to not only have their students sign up for a library card, but they were able to check out books on site that supported whatever the reading deficiency was. In addition to Columbus Metropolitan Library, we had a community fair. We want our parents to know that there are a multitude of resources in the community. Our community has embraced this effort, and we want them to know that when your child is struggling, here's a place that you can go. Here's a place that will provide books. Here's another place that you can go for support. So we held the community fair as well. Every 3rd grader that attended received a book, we had an organization that donated Kindle Fires, and so we also did drawings. And so 4 of our kids also now can read their books on the Kindle Fire. The Columbus Metropolitan Library allows them to check out free ebooks. So again, the Literacy Academy, I just saw so many amazing things come as a result of that. As Allison stated, we've continued that family learning series. This week we're hosting literacy academies on a much smaller scale, much more intimate, much more community-based. Last night we were at the Hilltop. Tonight we will be at Livingston Library, and tomorrow night we will be at Whetstone. Our culminating event for all academies will be on May 1st, and we hope to see you there at the main library.
Great. Well, speaking of the library, 2 things. Let me introduce, for those of you who don't know, Pat Lucinski, who is the director of a library that has been named #1 in the nation more than once. Pat? Allison, the library has been very concerned about learning loss during the summer, and also this year, I believe for the first time, during spring break. This spring, you want to tell us what you're going to be doing during?
Well, again, in partnership with my very good friend Sandy here, over spring break, we are making sure that the spring reading blitz that you all are having, we are providing 600 high-quality third grade reading kinds of text for that. And then, as I mentioned, we do have summer reading club and have had it for a long time. We have, in the interest of efficiency over the last few years, more standardized what that program is like, no matter what type of reader you are. Given the severity of this issue and its heightened focus, we are looking at how to make that more meaningful and tied in, because heaven knows we got another group of kids coming in next year. And in fact, last night, one of the parents was, my daughter's a 2nd grader. What am I doing to make it ready for her? So to be able to tie our work into that community need is really what we're really focused on.
And I want to just give the audience an alert. We're going to call for questions. One of the traditions of the club is people can ask questions. So if you've got questions, start to formulate them, and we'll be there. Sandy, following up, how can people here and in the community get involved in terms of helping?
One of the best ways, one of the most important ways would be to serve as a reading buddy. Right now we have over 680 individuals serving throughout our 72 elementary schools as a reading buddy. There is reading buddy training, so we provide that at the district level, and we provide you with some tools to go in and work with your student. Once you get to the building, you'll receive additional support from the building staff, the principal, and the literacy coach in the building. But one of the absolute most significant ways that you can contribute would be to serve as a reading buddy.
And how about the library?
Well, similar thing, but since we're running out of time, can I add something else?
Sure.
Because I got a little bit of theater here I have to stage in
All
our
right.
remaining moments here. So I talked about how we're transforming ourselves as well. A couple of ways that we're doing that in addition to what I spoke about before is we have hired 20 people working 15 hours a week to be in our locations after school, and their sole role is when kids come in is to say, Mark, it's so good to see you today. What book are you reading? How's your reading going? Because we have not had that kind of role really ever. And it's just a happy, eager, God love you kind of a person who welcomes these kids and makes them feel special and knows their name. So I'm really excited about that. We onboarded them, and they are just a fantastic group of people. The other thing that we have done is we've been piloting since February school delivery to Groveport, Madison. So with all respect to my colleague here, there are other school districts. There's 10 in Franklin County, and we've been piloting it with Groveport, Madison, and we've been delivering books, 30 books per classroom for 118 elementary schools. And so we've been doing that because those kids don't have access to good, high-quality books, and it's really been a great thing. We've been piloting also with Andy and one of his schools. And I want to announce a big announcement today. cueing my team, which is we're going to announce today that starting in the fall, we're going to be delivering it to the elementary schools and Columbus City Schools. So Greg Dodd is making a handout of books to Superintendent Good. And those are due in 30 days. We'll do the pickup and delivery. And fortunately, it's easy for us with Columbus City Schools because they have a central drop-off point. So anyway, we're really proud to be able to do it. It's changing how we do service, and we're looking at how to remove barriers for these kids. If you can't get to a library, by golly, we're going to get to you.
So our last question before the before the questions from the floor. Sandy, you and your colleagues are serving over 50,000 children in a school district where 80% are poor, more than 10% are new Americans. They've arrived from other countries, often very hardworking young people. But these are real challenges, students with disabilities. How do you and the teachers and the principals and the management team, what gives you hope? What helps you do this very hard work every day?
Actually, I think a lot of that answer was encapsulated in your description. It's the students that we serve every day. It is those families. It is those struggling readers, our families that join us from other countries. But at the end of the day, it is the work that we do for our children. Dr. Good shared a story with us this morning in our meeting about a little one that came up to him in a building, and he pulled his jacket and said, "Did you know that the word cute started with a C and not a Q?" And Dr. Good said that was like the best discovery for this little one. But you know what? It actually was. It actually was. And he was eager to share what he had learned. And so a lot of the work that we do, I do know that our students take the excitement that we extend to them. I've seen a renewed interest in literacy across our district. That excitement is not only felt by children, it's felt by staff, it's felt by the community. The community has really embraced us, and our parents want to do whatever is necessary. They are concerned. As Allison shared, there was a second grade parent there. Our focus has been on third, but we have also started the work of addressing the concerns in pre-K, K, 1, and 2. So to answer your question, what motivates us are the students and the families that we serve each and every day.
Excellent. Questions from the floor. Please come to the microphone and please ask questions. This is not an opportunity to make a long speech, but please ask questions.
Good thing I got up here before the superintendent had a chance to make his speech. I'm Jane Scott. You know, I get to go to all the CMC forums, just about, and we've had a lot of forums on education. There's been a lot of angst and a lot of wringing of hands of our education community, like, oh, the third grade reading guarantee, and why did the legislature do that, and all that. But what I'm hearing today is the most positive response to some pressure that I have heard from any of our school folks for 3 years. So are you telling me that perhaps this was a good idea and that the community is addressing it in an appropriate way that will lead to the result that the legislature had hoped?
What I'll say is we've taken the challenge and made it an opportunity. I truly believe that. So I do think that we were given, this is what we had to do, this is law. And so as a result of that, we had to take that challenge and make it into a positive. So the good piece of it, again, is that there has been a renewed focus. Not that we were not ever addressing literacy, because that's always been at the forefront. I do want to make that clear. But what I've seen is literacy is not just the job of the reading department. It is not just the job of the third grade teacher or the teachers. It became the responsibility of every employee of Columbus City Schools, every family of Columbus City Schools, and the community at large. So I do think that's what, if anything, the positive that we have to take from that is that we took that challenge and we're trying to make it into an opportunity for our students.
That was beautifully said.
you.
Very nice. Very good job.
Well, first, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Allison and Sandy and Mark. This has been wonderful. And Allison, could you please have the Columbus Metropolitan Library staff stand as well?
I would love to.
They've been
Thank
wonderful
you, my
partners.
great team here. Please stand, all of you, and this table over here.
Earlier this year, Mr. Wexner challenged us with creating a cultural transformation in the community, not unlike that which occurred in Shanghai, and that caused all of that country to focus on literacy as an important goal. And this morning, during our literacy meeting, we heard how our effort has gone international. And so if you could, first of all, Allison and Sandy, would you please share a little bit about Books on the Bus and the partners that have contributed to that? And then that little piece we learned about India this morning that just left us smiling.
Well, I'll talk about Books on the Bus. There's a song in there, isn't there? The Books on the Bus. Here's what we did. Again, responding to the call from Columbus City Schools in the effort of everybody is involved in reading. As I understand it, some of the transportation people said, well, the kids can read on the bus. They're sitting there. They may use it as a weapon, but you might have an opportunity. So we made a call out for books, and we thought, oh, 2,000. Well, you maybe guessed 2,000. Well, when we were all said and done, we have 5,000 books we were able to turn over to the school from our customers, from our staff. We held an event that the impressive Greg Dodd held over at our Hilltop branch, where we had a community event inviting people. And Nanette Messajunes of the Art Museum was there and was so inspired by that message, made a challenge out to her staff to do 100 books. And in fact, they delivered 150 books. So people are looking for ways to make a difference. And this was a really easy way for that. And we handed them over, and there you go.
So our Books on the Bus program has actually, we're going to look at it like we've changed the children's transit experience. And so it provided one more opportunity for our boys and girls to read. And one of the things that we consistently say throughout our district is if we want our kids to become better readers, they have to read. And so as a result of the Books on the Bus program, one of our school improvement office and our accountability office over one of our mini calamity days actually bagged books so that we would have books ready for all 300 plus routes of our elementary schools. And so as a result, kids have the books on the bus. They're able to read to themselves. They're able to read to a friend, or they're able to just talk and discuss the book, which we know is rich conversation and helps build vocabulary as well. We have had great response from our bus drivers. We actually saw a bus driver this morning, and it ran on Channel 10 yesterday, and he talked about how this particular experience has transformed his bus. One of the most important things, or the most important things, is that his students are reading, but then he also had to add that his bus is also a lot quieter than it was before. In addition to that, we have received a call from another district who is it another district?
From the OD, the employee is from OD, and she is a native from India.
From India, and they're looking to implement the same type of program.
Wow. Wow. Impressive. I should also mention that at the Saturday workshop that Dr. Good referred to, that Dr. Good's mother attended and was introduced, and he showed books that he had read as a child that were very well worn. And Sandy's mother came from Cleveland, and this had a tremendous positive impact on the parents, to see the parents of educators there.
Tasha Booker with I Know I Can, shameless plug. Can you talk a little bit about reading programs for older students? I mean, we hear the third grade reading guarantee, but as it stands, it sounds as if the older kids is a lost cause, and we know that a lot of the students now have matriculated through the education pipeline without the ability to read. So I know it's not a lost cause. Can you talk about some programs and talk about resources to parents and caregivers to help those students in need as well?
Absolutely. And I just had a wonderful conversation at my table about the I Know I Can program. And we've been out, actually working with parents on the Common Core. And that's one way that we're actually able to reach our middle school and high school parents. Additionally, in all middle and high schools this year, we have an intervention program called Read 180. And so that program is for our struggling readers, and again, it's in every Columbus middle and high school. In addition to that, we have reading in the content areas, which is another intervention program. That program is geared more toward reading within the context of the disciplines such as science, social studies, etc. Because if students struggle to read just regular reading books, they're also going to struggle to read those more complex science and social studies texts as well. One of the other great things that came as a result of the Family Literacy Academy, one of the requests from parents was to have a literacy academy that was modeled after what we did for our third graders. So our reading department has had much discussion about that, and that is something moving forward next year that we will be looking at. But again, all of our middle and high school buildings also have reading intervention programs in place.
Again, Thompson, I'm an architect. I guess being that way, I wish there were a way that there could be a visual part of reading literacy. I remember one of my favorite things in the highlights for children were, where's Waldo? Finding those sort of things. Anyway, two simple questions. How long should it take that little test we took? And secondly, how can I become a reading tutor or coach, I think you said? You mentioned?
Reading buddy?
Buddy.
For Columbus City Schools, to become a reading buddy, you can actually contact me. I'll give you my office number. I'll give it to everyone. It's 365-6132, and we will certainly sign you up because we will be hosting reading buddies throughout our summer school program as well. We're very excited about that. And as far as the length of the test, that was actually a practice test, so it was not a full-length test. Normally, the full-length test would have taken you at least 2 hours. It should, for students to do a really good job. And one of the things I used to always say to my boys and girls when I was a principal is take the test twice. So once you finish, make sure you go back over and check all of your answers. So that was actually a practice version. It was not a full-length test.
Can I also add, first off, you can be a volunteer at the library too. So don't hog it all, Sandy. You can go on our website and there's a volunteer tab on there. The other thing, because you're an architect, I wanted to say I too am very interested in visually capturing the process of reading. And we've been catching up in our response and doing all we can, but it's not lost on us that environmental literacy is very important. I was one of those goober parents that had the word pot on a pot when my child was growing up. And so as we are building new buildings, you all are probably aware of that, look at all the parents who are like, really, what, I should have done that? Anyway, we're looking at ways to capture that in that space as well, so it's not just in a book. I think Pat Lucinski's next.
Well, I couldn't not come up after Dan Good came up, right? And I had the pleasure of meeting Dan's mother as well, and I had the unfortunate task of telling her that one of my colleagues who runs a library in the western part of the state said, according to their records, he still has 3 items checked out from his childhood, and we'd like to try and get those back, Dan. But I'm going to share a story, and it's really a follow-up to Jane's question about the new law. And that was after it was passed, one of a colleague in town who is a headmaster of a school said his initial reaction, and he's a reform-minded person, his initial reaction is, should we punish kids for something adults haven't figured out? And I must admit that's a little bit about where I was, and then I thought a little bit longer about it, and I said, where's the greater disservice? Is that greater disservice when we advance that child to 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, where they're likely to have a greater sense of failure, and that's when you're asking for assistance in the higher grades. Well, maybe if we do this work now, we won't have that situation. So That's just a thought for us to really to continue to understand this early investment is going to pay dividends throughout, but we're not going to forget everyone along the way. My question, however, is to Sandy and Allison. Everyone in this room is who we would call on the grid. You're excited about these resources, you're aware of them, you know how to use them. Could each of you talk about your efforts to really reach those who are off the grid? Because those are the ones who need the most help.
So again, within schools, not only have we had district level incentives or district level initiatives, individual buildings do lots of work with their families to ensure that they're well versed on the third grade reading guarantee. I have actually been out to several buildings. I've been invited to different literacy academies. We were at a meeting this week earlier, Dr. Klein and I, where a third grade teacher came over and she was super excited because they had replicated the large literacy academy at her building. And part of the conversation she had with Dr. Klein and I were that one of her parents brought her son to the Saturday Academy. And the teacher said, your son scored a 450 on the OAA, which is an extremely high score. And mom said, but there's still room for improvement. So at the building level, principals and teachers also are putting forth those same efforts to reach our parents. The different departments throughout the district, our ESL department, our school improvement office, everyone, again, is doing everything they can to make sure that everyone is well versed of not only the consequence of the third grade guarantee, but just of opportunities to improve literacy with our students.
And from the library's perspective, one of the things we've been doing that is a model for how I think we can begin to really recast how we think, how we approach children who are off the grid. We do have our Ready to Read core. Amanda is in this room somewhere. There she is. And she goes out into the homes of parents with small children, starting early, once a month, doing homework, helping these people understand their role and their responsibility. She and I are going on Thursday to visit one of her clients who's a 14-year-old mom. So the idea of holding these people, it's all about relationship. We can't take the tools that the rest of us are familiar with. It's about trust and relationship, and it's hard work. And it's a one-to-one work. We're looking at ways that we can get out of our building and our bricks and mortar. Again, I'm about removing barriers. And if we can do a pop-up library somewhere where we can do a in-the-moment kind of experience of connecting people on a personal level, that's what we're trying to do.
We're now into the speed round, I'm told, so we want...
Is that speed answers too?
Yeah. I do want to acknowledge the fact that there are a group of parents here from Clintonville Go Public, and that Clinton Elementary School, which is one of the schools they care about, was #1 in the district in terms of reading scores, and so they have an active group of parents. Okay, the Dean of The Ohio State University gets the last question.
Thanks. Salute to everyone working on these programs. And I want to commend everyone, especially that the programs we're looking at here are research-based. And I think that's one of the reasons they have a future and they're working. I want to interject one other thought about research, and that's that as children learn math, we have the research to show that they do better in reading too. So we don't want to lose math as we're helping everybody move forward with reading, and I hope we can inject some of that into these programs as well. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Joyce Hackett from Columbus City Schools, and I just wanted to add a couple of things about how we're supporting our kids and families that perhaps may be off the grid. What has happened since the Family Literacy Academy is that all of those sessions were taped, and so we have been rebroadcasting all of that information, all that content on our public access channel. And it runs on Saturday mornings, Sunday afternoons, and every evening through the week from 3 to 5. And there's new content, new tips for parents, et cetera. And I wanted to also say about the bags, the tote bags that we have been putting the books in on the buses. We actually reached out to ODE for some donations for tote bags, and one of the employees there, who is from India, reached out to a community in India, a community of women. They actually hand sewed book bags for us, and so those book bags are now being used on our school buses. They were so inspired by the program here, so just wanted to share that information. Thank you.
I just want to say really quickly, and I'm sure all of us out here are just really excited about the energy that's going into making sure that our kids are getting every opportunity they can to succeed. And so there's no better marriage than the library and a school in my mind. And so the fact that we're working so closely together right now to help ensure that our kids have this type of literacy opportunity is just fantastic. So thank you for all the effort and energy that's gone into that. Thank you, Mark, for being here today. I hope you enjoyed today's forum. We encourage you to continue the conversation in the lobby over coffee and cookies. Once more, let's thank our sponsors, the Columbus Foundation, and our partners, thekidsohio.org. Thank you to our speakers, Mark Reel, Sandy McDonald, Allison Circle, and Bonnie James. I don't know if we should be thanking Bonnie, though, actually, for what she put us through. And thank you for being here. We look forward to seeing you again at CMC.